What is good, y'all? It's your girl Queen B coming to y'all with yet another reaction. This is coming straight from my girl Kelly's page, y'all. Um, so a lot know that a while ago, Mr. Alvin Bragg was trying to go after Trump. You know, well, he did, unfortunately. And to my understanding, is he still trying to go after him now that he is president? If that's the case, he needs to sit back, fall in line, because you see what everybody doing. They are dropping cases left or right, resigning, stepping down, all this other type of stuff. And if he is still trying to go after him, best bet is to just let it go. You know what I'm saying? Because we all know the real reason as to why. But anywho, y'all, this says Trump lawfare update. Could NY conviction get dismissed with author Aidala, did I said that name right, and Mark Geragos? Geragos, something like, okay. Y'all know I will mess up a name. Anywho, help me out in the comment section with them names, y'all. I don't be trying to screw them up, but I be trying to pronounce them the best way I can. Some of these names be like, okay. But we finna get into the video, y'all. We definitely finna find out. Hopefully he do the right thing and just fall back like everybody else. I mean, it would only make sense, right? Being that allegedly everything was made up anyway, just to tarnish this man's name. Anywho, y'all, let's get into the video.
This same DA we've been debating, who brought the criminal charges against Daniel Penny for protecting those subway passengers, is the one who brought the charges against Donald Trump for falsification of business records around his non-disclosure agreement with Stormy Daniels. And one of the many problems that Alvin Bragg now faces is, A, his client was elected president again, and it's going to make sentencing Trump very complicated. When will he serve his time, if ever? Will there be actual time assigned, and so on? But secondly, the U.S. Supreme Court then ruled that presidents have immunity for their official acts, and that not only do they have immunity, but you can't even introduce into evidence in a case against them evidence of their official acts. They're just totally off limits as an evidentiary perspective. And yet that ruling came after this trial. And at the trial, they did have testimony about Trump while he was in the Oval Office doing various things, including with Hope Hicks, who was his advisor. And the prosecution argued that it had been critical evidence in closing. Now, so Trump recently filed a request to Judge Merchan to throw out the criminal verdict, saying this is not consistent with the Supreme Court's ruling. You allowed evidence in against me, which has now been deemed inadmissible by the highest court in the land. And Merchan, shockingly, didn't see it that way and will not order a new trial and does not think that this was a problem. So while we're on the subject of Alvin Bragg, what's going to happen in that case, Arthur? You're a New York lawyer.
Well, the judge relied on what's called the harmless error. He's like, even if it did come in, the evidence against Trump was overwhelming without this bad evidence. So it's harmless error of that the prosecutor, that I allowed it in, and we're going to stick with the result that the jury gave. Typically, that's what an appellate court does. An appellate court rules, yes, the trial judge should not allow this in. He did allow it in. The jurors did hear it. But there was so much other evidence that it didn't matter. So that's where we are with that piece of the puzzle. The sentence in this case, I believe, was supposed to be July 16th. Then in between the conviction and July 16th, that's when the Supreme Court decision came down with the presidential immunity. There have been all kinds of motion practice. Then it was supposed to happen in September. Then it was supposed to happen in November. But then Trump won. And I looked up. I try to look up today what the next date is for a sentence, and I don't see one. But it may have just been announced because this decision came down yesterday. A lot of people thought maybe the judge was going to dismiss the case, but that was not the case. And a 41-page opinion, so those of you know, in state criminal court is a very big opinion. They're normally like 4 to 5 pages, not 41 pages. There now has to be some sort of a sentencing to end this. Alvin Bragg has suggested, let's just all agree to adjourn it until after President Trump's tenure as the president of the United States. But a defendant has the right to a speedy trial, and this falls into all of his constitutional rights. So I don't see that happening. I think Merchan's hands are going to be tied, and he's going to have to sentence him to like time served, which was the one day he had to surrender to be processed,
Right.
or a unconditional discharge, which means, okay, you're going to go through life as president of the United States with 34 convictions hanging around your neck for the rest of your life and throughout the history,
Wow.
unless an appellate court reverses it, and go on and be president of the United States. What is he going to do? He can't send them to probation. What, are you going to check in with a probation officer every week as a president? He can't sentence them to jail because the sitting president can't go to jail. And I don't see any scenario where, okay, we're going to put this over 4 years and change. Then you'll go to jail after your presidency. So I think a lot of nothing's going to happen. I would suspect Rashawn will give him a tongue lashing, saying you've been convicted, you're a convicted felon. I think what you did was horrible, and you set a horrible precedent, but this is a unique case, and I would have sent you to jail, but now I think I cannot send you to jail in the interest of justice.
You should send him in for community service. He's about to do 4 years of that. Go ahead, Mark.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I didn't realize we'd be talking about this, but I pulled up the quote that I noticed yesterday that Todd Blanche, who's now nominated to be the number 2 at DOJ, wrote. And he said, as a further illustration of DA Bragg's desperation to avoid legally mandated dismissal, DANY proposes that the court pretend as if one of the assassination attempts against President Trump had been successful, quote unquote. And that is exactly right. There is no reason in the world for him to be sentenced. By the way, Arthur, you can correct me, but if this had been in most courts, the fact that he hasn't been sentenced means that he is not a convicted felon. I don't know if there's some nuance in New York, but federally and in the state courts that I've practiced in, without sentencing, you're not convicted per se. And the fact that they had to dance on the head of a pin to try to say that the evidence that was brought in, where they're talking about things that happened when he was in office. I mean, Megan, you covered this in real time. They had all kinds of days and hours of evidence about what happened post-election at the White House. And to say now, well, sorry, we were just kidding. It was overwhelming, and therefore it didn't implicate presidential immunity is just nonsense.
The appellate court will see through this. They will see how the prosecution argued in closing that evidence about Trump's official behavior was critical to their case by their own admission, the prosecution's own admission, not to mention all the other ridiculous legal gymnastics that were pulled in this case.
Right. So many appellate arguments here. So many arguments here. It's a case of first impression. It's a federal case brought in state court. The jurors didn't have to be insistent on what underlying crimes Trump they allegedly committed. There is so much appellate practice here. It's actually exciting.
Wow. What
for those of us holding
circus.
our breath for the past several months as we came up to this election, we can finally exhale. Work can at last be done on the major issues this country's facing, one of the most significant being our national debt. The fact is, we're broke, and that debt is a house of cards for our nation that cannot be quickly dismantled. So the strategy remains the same. You might want to diversify your savings. This is why I want to tell you about Birch Gold. So many things are out of our control, out of our president's control. So it can be important to have a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group can help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. And the best news is it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Text MK to 989898 to get your free info kit. Plus, right now, you will receive a free 1-ounce silver eagle coin for every $5,000 purchased. Protect your savings with Birch Gold. Text MK to 989898 and claim your eligibility for free silver today.
All right,
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.
Go do that, y'all. Go do that. Okay, so let's get into it. So it feels like it's just a huge, come on, politics. It feels like it's just a huge circus, though, for real. Like, just let it go. That's the best bet, is to just let the mess go. Okay? Y'all know what y'all was doing. We know what y'all was trying to do. and it did not work. Hang it up. Hang it up. And then, am I not to my understanding, is Bragg he be eligible to run in 2025? Is that what I'm hearing? I think that is not going to happen. Baby, let me tell you something. Everybody that put themselves out there while Trump was trying to run to get, to be president and stuff, and all just everything that, they showed to the world and stuff like that, and us just knowing, who we had stand for. I think everybody that went against the grain, y'all, is not going to successfully be able to make, unless you still got the ones who, somewhat believe in it. But other than that, I don't see it happening. I really don't. I don't. But it's just me, in my opinion. But anywho, y'all, drop in the comment section. What are y'all thoughts on this? Do y'all think it just needs to just be dismissed? Like, do y'all think that he needs to pay a price for this? Not Trump, but Bragg for even coming after him with the mess, or whoever else came after him to create this mess. What are y'all thoughts? Let me know in the comment section, y'all. Until the next reaction, I love y'all, and your girl is up out of here.